students. Welcome back. I am Miss Alexander, your social studies teacher. Today, we are continuing from where we left off in lesson 1 on rules and responsibilities, where we specifically looked at the topic political and social controls in government. If you are new to the lesson today, I encourage you to perhaps do a little bit of a research in understanding what the Constitution of Guyana is and why it is we have laws and why it is important for all of us as citizens. Before we move into today's lesson, I would like for us to participate in a quick recap of lesson 1 to see what you may remember for those of us that are rejoining, and for those of you who are now joining us to see what you may need to know. The first recap. We said that the Constitution is a collection of laws by which citizens and others who come into the country are governed. So, here are some true and false questions for you. Question 1. The Constitution ensures that the interests and needs of those who comply with the law are addressed alone. Let me read that again and listen attentively. The Constitution ensures that the interests and needs of those who comply with the law alone are addressed. True or false? The answer is false. Let's move on to the second question. When laws are broken, a person can be charged and taken before the court. Again, when laws are broken, a person can be charged and taken before the court. True or false? Alright, if you said true, the answer is correct. I want you to give yourselves a little tap on the shoulder. I am so happy you remembered some of the key points of the previous lesson. You did great. Now, let's look a bit closer at the other interesting components of the political and social controls of government. What are our objectives for today? Students must be able to 1. Describe the stages a bill must go through before it becomes law, and 2. Explain why the bills go through several stages. How a bill becomes law. The term bill may sound familiar to you, particularly when you go shopping and you will receive a bill for the items that you purchased. However, we're not speaking of that type of bill. We're referring to a different type of bill in today's session, and so I encourage you to listen keenly, pay attention. You may very well learn something very new today. A legal proposal introduced in the National Assembly is called a bill. According to the Constitution, any member of the National Assembly may introduce a bill in the Assembly. There are different types of bills. For example, there are government bills and private bills. However, most bills are sponsored by the government. Bills relating to the national budget, taxation, and other financial matters require the recommendation or consent of Cabinet. The bill has to go through several stages before it becomes an act. But what is an act? Are we acting on screen? No, we aren't. Again, we are using a term that you may be familiar with, but it is used in a different context. An act is a bill which has been passed by the National Assembly and assented to by His Excellency or Her Excellency the President and has been proclaimed through the publication in Official Gazette. The Guyana Parliament is a unicameral system. This means that there is a government with one legislative house or chamber. Unicameral is a Latin word that describes a single house legislative system. Understanding this system will help you to appreciate how bills are passed in Parliament, particularly in comparison to other countries like Antigua and Barbuda, the Bahamas, and Trinidad and Tobago, which uses a different system. In Trinidad and Tobago, for example, Parliament consists of the House of Representatives, the Senate, and the President. The House of Representatives is also referred to as the lower house, while the Senate is referred to as the upper house. This two-chamber system is referred to as a bicameral legislature. So like we heard just now, in Guyana, we use the what? Unicameral system. We have one legislative house or chamber. However, there are other countries who have a two-chamber system, which is referred to what? The bicameral legislature. Very good. I'm glad you're remembering the terms. Ensure that you jot them down and that you remember them as we go along. Now, there are various stages that a government bill must go through before it becomes law. So listen keenly as we go through the journey of a bill becoming an act or before it becomes law. The first reading is done by the subject minister. No debate is done at this stage. This is particularly so, as we said just now, for government bills. Remember, we did start off by saying that there are different types of bills. And so we are specifically looking at what? Government bills. Let's continue with the journey. So after the subject minister presents this bill to Parliament, there is no debate done at that stage. The presentation is simply made. The bill is returned to the House 6 weeks later for a debate. Now, during that 6 weeks leading up to the debate, the bill must be gazetted. This authorizes the bill to be debated. At the 6th week, the bill is debated, and if there are no amendments to be made, it goes into the 3rd reading. This is where the bill would be passed, then to be printed. I trust that you're following the journey thus far. Just doing a quick check-in with you. We're currently at the 6th week where the bill is debated, and if there are no amendments to be made, it goes into the 3rd reading. Let's move right along. After the bill is passed in the House, it is forwarded by Parliament in the form of an act. Then it is sent to the Attorneys General Chamber, where they vet the bill and thereafter issue an accession certificate. Thereafter, the bill is sent to the President for his assent. This means that the President looks at the bill and provided that he approves it, he assents it. The President has 21 days to assent the bill. Now, what happens if he doesn't? What happens if the President doesn't assent the bill? It means that the bill is returned to the Parliament and the President explains why he does not assent the bill. Now, let's go back and let's say that the President does assent the bill. Then what happens? The bill then becomes an act. So here's a takeaway activity for you. I would like for you to go on the Parliament of Guyana website and you're going to research for some of the bills that have been enacted. There are also bills that were recently consented. There are few that have been consented for a very long time because now they're actually part of our laws. And there are actually bills that are present in our 12th Parliament. They're before our 12th Parliament to be considered. So they're going to go through the stages as well, where they will be presented, debated, and so on and so forth, as we just discussed. In concluding today's session, there are a few things that I would like for you to remember. Remember that 1, a bill is a legal proposal introduced in the National Assembly. 2, any member of the National Assembly may introduce a bill. 3, the Ghana Parliament is a unicameral system. This means that there is a government with one legislative house or chamber. 4, other countries like Antigua and Barbuda, the Bahamas, and Trinidad and Tobago has the bicameral legislature. 5, the House of Representatives, referred to as the lower house, and the Senate, referred to as the upper house, make up the 2-chamber system referred to as bicameral legislature. 6, government bills are presented to the House by the subject minister. And number 7, upon the ascension of bills by the President, the bill then becomes an act. And should the President not assent the bill, it is returned to Parliament. Well, students, this has brought us to the end of today's lesson. There is so much we can learn about rules and responsibilities. As you would have seen, there was another layer